Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you guys are new here. So for today's video, you guys seem to really enjoy my ranking series. So today I'll be ranking all of my Melt Cosmetics palettes from my least favorite to my absolute favorite. So you guys want to see what those are? Well, then definitely keep on watching. Alright guys, so first and foremost, I hope everybody had a beautiful, long Memorial Day weekend. I did. It was so weird because I did a poll on Friday and I said, listen guys, do I post today or do I not post today? Because in reality, it may not seem like it, but a lot of times, and a lot of creators will agree with me on this, videos don't do well during holiday weekends or just a holiday time frame. It is what it is, and even though this is more of an American holiday than it is anywhere else, it still just doesn't perform well. So I was like, okay, do I put out a video and hurt my algorithm? Because I don't know if you guys know this, but if YouTube sees that your video is performing poorly, your very next few videos, they will not promote. They will not push out. Subscribers do not get the notifications that the video is live, because YouTube's like, well, your shit sucks, so why are we going to promote you, you know? So usually that happens to me a lot during the holidays. So I'm like, well, what do? Do I post a video? Do I not post a video? So I asked you guys, and you guys all pretty much said I should be a lazy bum and have off the weekend. So that is what I did. I literally took off from Friday through Monday. It was so nice because I haven't done that in forever. And I originally intended today's video to be a shop my stash, but I'm wearing a lot of makeup today because I got super burned. So my face, like, it's heavily coated with makeup, but you guys will probably see it. I am very red in the face because I really did sunburn my face because I got a little drunk and forgot to put sunblock on my face. Stupid me, I know. But you guys will see that later this week. So if my makeup starts to look shitty throughout the week because my face is peeling, you guys now know why. So diving into today's video, we're going to do a ranking video. You guys seem to really enjoy whenever I do a ranking video, when I go through my collection, see what I have so much of, and then I rank it for you guys. And it's a lot of fun for me because it gives me a chance to kind of go through my collection, go, oh my god, I forgot I had this palette, and it's just kind of fun to explain why I like it and why I don't. Now, I only have 15 Melt Cosmetics palettes. I believe there's 18 out. There could be a little bit more, but I believe there's 18, and I don't have 3 of them, and I'll explain why I don't have 3 of them before I dive into the video. If you guys have been around my channel for so long, you guys will have known that I have loved Melt Cosmetics for so long. I have talked about them numerous times for you guys, so this would be really exciting for me. So I think the 3 palettes that I don't have are, let's see, the Melt Cosmetics Impulsive palette. I remember I saw this in Sephora and I saw it on Melt Cosmetics website, but I just did not justify the price point. Like, I just couldn't justify the price point and buying it at the time when it was released. Now I do see it like on my card for like 36 bucks. So it's not like it's that expensive like it was, but I saw it at the time and I just was like, oh, Melt was so expensive to me. Like, Melt was super expensive because their palettes are like $60. And when I first started YouTube, that's when I really was diving into Melt Cosmetics. Like, literally the first makeup look I ever did back to YouTube, it wasn't on like my channel, but it was posted on my IG, was me playing with the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette. And I was like, oh my god, this is fantastic. But it was very, very hard for me to spend $60 on a palette because I was just like, I can't afford to. So I missed out on a few of the Melt palettes because of that, but I was able to get them along the way, and some of them were sent to me by you guys. So that's why I missed out on that palette. I also don't have the Melt Cosmetics. This is the She's in the Parties palette because it's like a purple eyeshadow palette. And if you guys know me, very much not my style. I don't really wear a lot of purples, pinks, and reds. I just don't think I could pull them off. They're very, very intimidating colors. And yeah, they just, when I saw that palette, I was kind of like, like, it just wasn't necessarily something that I got excited about. So I did pass on that one. And then the last one that I think I'm missing is the Gemini Volume 2 palette. And I know this is their newest launch, but I didn't get this one just because, well, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't get it. I just didn't get it. I think eventually I will get it. Like, I do think eventually I will get it to have it because I love the Gemini palette, but I don't know. I think it's just because I had a lot more like pinky red tones in it. And again, I'm very much like into the greens, yellow, oranges. It's hard for me to dive necessarily into pinkies. Even though they do have some green, it's just not exactly what I was looking for in terms of like wanting to spend the money on that. So I think those are the 3 palettes I'm missing. If I'm missing any more, I do apologize. I'll make sure I do some research before I post this video, and I'll link them down below if I missed any more. But with that said, guys, we're gonna go ahead and dive straight into this video. So coming in at number 15, we do have the Melt Cosmetics. This is the Waiting Room. This is their Beetlejuice collaboration that they did, and this launched with 2 palettes. And this was actually gifted to me by a subscriber because when Melt launched this collection, I was so focused on doing my Allie's 12 days of giveaways, or yeah, I think it was 12 days of giveaway at the time. I couldn't afford to buy the whole collection because it's stupidly expensive. I think to buy the whole Beetlejuice collection was like $500 freaking dollars, and I was like, yeah, no, fuck that, I cannot afford it. So I did pass on that collection, but this actually was gifted to me by a subscriber. And I will say, I love Beetlejuice. I think it's such a classic like Halloween movie, and I love the outside packaging. I love that on the inside you do have like this little protective shield for the shadows, and it has like images from the movie. But then on the inside, we do have this color scheme right here. Now, this is a color scheme I typically just don't wear. I don't ever really wear any grays, blacks, and reds. So it's why it's like my least favorite of all the Melt palettes, because they're just colors that I just honestly don't wear. And I'm very grateful that I have it. Don't think I'm not. The shadows are beautiful. They perform very nicely. It's just a color scheme, but I'm just kind of like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I would have no idea how to formulate a really pretty look out of this, because these colors just stump me. I stare at them going, I just don't know. I don't know. Like, just not for me, not for me. Coming in at number 14, we do have the Millennial Pink palette. Now, I really did enjoy the outside packaging because it's very basic, very millennial. But there's something about the palette itself that I just was not a fan of. When I did a review on this, I was just like, this is just not a good palette. I don't know if the formula on here was just a little different. That's the one thing about Melt Cosmetics. There are some palettes that perform beautifully and the formula is great, but then there's other ones that it's like patchy and difficult to work with, and you're like, what is going on? Like, why am I struggling with you so damn hard compared to other ones? I don't get it. I do notice that a lot. I don't get it. A lot of that happens with these Melt Cosmetic palettes. I know I'm not the only one that has that issue. I've seen other creators talk about that too, but I still freaking love them because when they work beautifully. So here we do have the Millennial Pink. And when I reviewed this, I was not into neutrals, like not into neutrals at all. So I found this to be very bland, very boring. And I definitely have changed my opinion a bit when in terms of like neutral. You guys know that I'm really starting to enjoy being like a neutral bitch, but I'll always be a color whore. But there's still just something about this that doesn't just spark my creativity. It doesn't make me excited. And I look at it going, yeah, this could be pretty, but I don't know. It just still is not an exciting palette for me, like at all. I could probably do a wearable look with this for sure, but yeah, it still doesn't make me excited. I think that if I were to go back in time now, I probably would have advised myself not to buy it because I probably would advise myself not to buy it because I really didn't get much use out of this. But here is number 14, the Millennial Pink. Coming in at number 13, we do have the Mary Jane palette. Now, I bought the whole PR box with this, and it did come with like a little pipe, and it came with a cool little like box that had like a mirror and like storage stuff in it. I don't have that anymore. I did end up just passing that along, but it also came with a palette. So I do really appreciate the outside packaging. I think it's super beautiful. I love that it really does have the Mary Jane effect to it. And then when you open it up, it's a very beautiful palette. Like, I won't take away from how beautiful this is. You can create a very beautiful neutral eye look with this. Absolutely. I thought that some of the shimmers worked in here, some of the shimmers did not. I had a little bit more difficulty with like some of these deeper shades right here compared to the lighter shades. I love the shade Callie, I think that's the name, Callie. But do you see how this one is a little bit more drying? Like, it's weird. Some of them are drying and then some of them are not drying. Do you guys like see that? It's just very weird. Melt has that really weird formula again where some are amazing and then some are like, what happened? But the reason why this is number 13 is because I don't really use this palette that often. I think I found other beautiful neutral palettes over this one, and the formula was a little inconsistent in comparison to their other palettes. I've had a little bit of a difficulty with this. I honestly don't remember what my review was. I don't remember what my eye look was. I just know that when I look at it now, I don't get as excited about this as I do their other palettes, but I am grateful that I had it, and I had a lot of fun when I got the palette to review. I think I was actually in this apartment for the first time when I got this. I think. I could be wrong, but I just think it's actually really cool. They do allow you to buy PR boxes as well as ColourPop allows you to do the same thing. But yeah, I don't really dig into this one as much as I do their other one. So coming in at number 12, we do have the 27 Melt Cosmetic Palette. Now, this was actually gifted to me by a subscriber because they saw that I did not have the entire Melt Cosmetics at the time. They're like, I cannot let you not have a complete collection. So they did send this to me. I did have a good time playing with this. It's definitely a very wearable, neutral, everyday palette. And the only reason why it's at number 12 is just because I don't really gravitate to this one as much as I do their other ones, because it is just a very neutral palette. And you guys know I'm very much into colors, but I think this is one of their newer, I think this is one of the first palettes they might have come out with. Like, remember, this was around before the Gemini palette was, if I'm correct. But the Gemini is what introduced me to Melt Cosmetics anyway. It's a beautiful palette. I believe you can still find this on their website. I think you could also find it at Sephora. But if you want like an everyday neutral palette, this is definitely one to go for because it's very more soft, it's very more soft and very like in tune for like the fall season. So it's not a bad palette. I think it's really pretty. It's just, I like the other ones more. Coming in at number 11, we do have the Brunette palette. Now, this palette right here, it came in kind of broken. So you can see like this shade right here, I definitely had to repress. And I will say this is a prettier neutral palette out of theirs compared to like the Mary Jane. I like the formula a little bit more. This is again more of like an everyday neutral palette. You don't have that many shimmers in here. You definitely have a lot more mattes in this palette than you do shimmers, but I think the way they did this is to make it very wearable, very neutral. This will be your everyday go-to palette. So that is why it is at number 11, because this is a palette I don't reach for that often. I personally did not buy this. I got it in a mystery box from them, but it is a pretty palette. Like, it is a pretty neutral palette. I think you could definitely wear this one every single day if you wanted to. Coming in at number 10, we have this palette right here. This is part of the Day of the Dead collection, and when I did that video, it was horrendous because I didn't realize how much I butchered Day of the Dead saying, and I'm not gonna try to say it now because I still like would trip myself up because I get very like in my head about it. So this came in at number 10, and this was part, like I said, part of a 2-set palette where you could actually put like the 2 skulls together. And this one right here, I didn't utilize as much as the other one because this is more of a darker tone palette, because this was supposed to be this one's like the dead palette, that one's like the living palette. And I liked more the blue side than I did the red. I didn't really play with the red that much because, again, I'm not the biggest fan of red shadows. They stain. It could just be a big mess, and it's very, very intimidating for me. So I actually preferred playing with the blue side a lot more. These are very, very gorgeous colors. The shimmers work beautifully in this palette. I did have fun playing with this one. I love the look that I created when I did the blue eyeshadow look, and this was just a fun palette. There's definitely names in here that I couldn't even begin to pronounce. But yeah, it's a very cool concept. Very cool concept. So that's why it's at number 10, just because this one has a little bit more unwearable colors for me compared to the other ones, but it was still so much fun to play with this one. Coming in at number 9, we do have the Blueprint palette. Now, first off, I do love the outside packaging. I think it's super freaking beautiful. Then you have the inside right here. Again, very, very gorgeous packaging. But then you open on the inside, we have blues and browns, and this was actually a fun palette for me because it kind of challenged me just a bit going between blues and browns, and these can really complement each other. I don't know what my eye look was. I don't like to go back and watch my old videos because they're so cringy. I'm sure like in a year from now, I won't even want to watch this video, you know what I'm saying? But I definitely can see how beautiful this palette is because you do have your pops of colors. You also have your neutrals, and you can also mix and match this to make a very beautiful, beautiful smoky eye look, and I think this is what this palette calls for. I think it's very beautiful. I love the formula in this palette, and I think it's just a really aesthetically pleasing palette overall to look at, and I just love staring at it because I just think it's just so pretty, and I think I can have a lot more fun with this. And now I'm kind of curious what look I created. I wonder if it was good. It probably wasn't. Knowing me, it probably wasn't good. Coming in at number 8, we do have the Melt Cosmetics. This is the Recently Deceased Beetlejuice collaboration. Like I said at the very beginning of the video, they did roll out with 2 of these palettes. There was the red eyeshadow palette, but there's also a green eyeshadow palette. And again, this was also gifted to me by a subscriber, and she sent both of those over. So let's look at the outside packaging. Super beautiful. But on the inside, you also have, again, that really fun, colorful insert right here that shows like a scene of the movie. But then you have this color scheme right here. Now this is gorgeous to me because this is a perfect Halloween palette. I love colors like this for Halloween. I don't know why, just whenever I see it, I'm like, this is Halloween! And I just get so excited. And I love that you can see like the little beetlejuice imprint in here. The shimmers are really beautiful. The mattes have a lot of pigmentation to them. And this is just an overall aesthetically pleasing palette. Perfect for the Halloween, and I'm very grateful to her. She knows who she is that sent this to me. She sent me like a whole box of goodies. And I'm very grateful that she gifted this to me because that meant a lot to me because I did not have this collection. I talked about it so much, like, oh, I wish I had it, but it's still super beautiful. You can create the most prettiest green eye looks, purple eye looks with this, mix and match them. It is perfect for Halloween. Perfect palette. At number 7, I just actually recently got this in the mail because my friend Mikey sent this over to me. This, I think, is the Mariposa palette. This is actually gifted to me by Mikey because they were doing a huge sale, and so he wanted me to have this because he knew I did not have this one. But here we have the palette right here, and the reason why I didn't get the palette at the time is because it was actually quite expensive for what it was. So you get all these shadows in here, which is fantastic, but they're so like itty bitty. Like my finger can like overtake this pretty much. When I was swatching these a while ago, I was like, wow, the formula on these are beautiful, like beautiful formula. But I just felt like it was a little diminished by how small the actual like pan sizes are. The pan sizes are incredibly small compared to all their other pan sizes. So that's why this one isn't as high on my list because of how small the pan sizes were. But when I did swatch the colors, I didn't get a chance to fully play with the palette yet. When I swatched the colors, I played with the mattes. They were super nice. They would swatch beautifully, very creamy, very buttery. I think this is more of their updated version. Like when it comes to like their new formula, this was a really fun palette to swatch and play. This really fun palette to swatch. I'm gonna have to actually sit down and play with it, but it's really beautiful. I love that you can do different colors with it, and I love the little butterflies. The butterflies are so freaking cute. So thank you, Mikey. Coming in at number 6, we do have the Rustic palette. Now, when I played with this palette, I loved the eye look that I created, and I still love the eye look to this day. I think this is a really gorgeous palette. I love like the outside rustic feel to it, and then you open it up on the inside, you do have very fall colors to me. Like I can create a beautiful fall aesthetic eye look with this. I love like the yellows that I played with this. I love like mixing it with like the browns and stuff, and this is a very fun palette to play with. I was very happy with the look that I created when I did this palette. I think this was like right when COVID started. I think is right when this palette released, and I had a lot of fun playing with it, and I just think it's a really beautiful palette. Again, this is more of like an everyday neutral palette, but I also took it as a beautiful fall inspired palette, and I could see myself going, and I could a beautiful fall inspired palette. So during the fall season, I'll definitely go back into this palette to play with some of these yellows and browns to really create a fun fall festive look. And I just think it's a gorgeous palette, and I think Milk Cosmetics did such a great job. The formula on this was very consistent with the Gemini formula, and I just think it's just an overall aesthetically pleasing palette. Coming at number 5, we do have the Smoke Sessions palette. Now, the eye look that I created this was absolutely horrendous. It was a very ugly eye look. I remember I told you guys this story about how I got high in that video. The audio was horrendous because my audio wasn't plugged in, so it just sounded horrible, and I didn't know that until I was editing. But we do have the Smoke Section palette right here. Now this is pretty much full of lots of shimmers, and some of these shimmers were patchy, some of them are great, some of them swatched beautifully, some of them did not. And this was very like a hit or miss palette for a lot of people. I actually enjoyed it. I liked this side a lot more than I liked this side. I just did not like the eye looks that I created. I was inspired by like Robbie Christie. Like she inspired me for my eye look, and I could not touch her level of gorgeousness, the way that she was able to blend the shadows, put it together. Mine just came out so utterly bad, but I still had a lot of fun playing with this. I still think these shimmers right to this day are absolutely beautiful. The shade Blue Dream is such a beautiful color, and this one right here is so creamy. They definitely have a little bit of flakiness, but I also love Gravity Flog too. Like beautiful colors, and I really like how they laid it out in the palette. And it was just a fun palette for me to play with, but not a fun eye look. But I think this was like the second, I think this might have been the second melt palette I ever reviewed. I could be wrong, but I think this was the second one I've ever reviewed. Fun times though. I had a great time making that video. The video did not have a fun time with me, but I had a fun time with that video. All right, guys, so coming in at number 4, we do have the Radioactive palette. I freaking loved this palette. I love the outside packaging. I love the unicarton for this and the way that the palette is actually, the way the palette looks, the way it feels. And then you open on the inside, you do have such fun colors. Like, you have such fun colors. Such fun colors. I had so much fun when I played this palette. I loved the purples. I loved the red. I loved this entire palette. I love the colors come out of this. This is such a fun palette for me to play with. And I love the eye look that I created. And I had nothing bad to say about this palette. I thought it was so freaking cool. I think I actually remembered in this palette, or I think in that video, I think I talked about Dominique Cosmetics, like looking at my content for the first time. And I was like, I remember distinctly being like in this video, but this is such a fun palette for me. I had so much fun. The shade Exxon right here, I think is the only one I had a little bit of trouble with because it doesn't turn out the same color that I wanted to. Like in the pan, it looks more lime, but then on the eye, it definitely turns a bit more yellowish. But it was such a fun time to play with. Such a gorgeous palette. I think Melt did a really good job with this one. Coming in at number 3, we do have the other half of the Day of the Dead palette. This is the Life palette right here. And this was such a fun palette because it's so fun and festive, and it's so pretty to look at. Like, you can like definitely see where I had a lot of fun playing this palette because it's my color scheme. Like, you're gonna have a lot of your greens. You do have some reds right here, but this is kind of where I stayed at, right on this little area right here, because it's such a fun color scheme for me. And I also loved the little oranges that are right here as well. Like, that was a lot of fun to play with, and mixing this all together was beautiful. Kind of stayed away from the red a little bit, but this was such a fun palette. I think I really like the eye look that I created on this side more than I did the other eye, and this was just a fun palette. Fun video to watch. If you guys just ever want to laugh at my stupidity, go watch it, but definitely a fun palette to play with. And it was so cool to like put the two skulls together. I had fun doing that. Coming in at number 2, we do have the 24 palette. First off, I love the outside unicorn. I think it's so freaking nice, and when you open it up, I think the palette is just so pretty, and like it shifts. Do you guys see that? Like, look at how cool that is. This is one of those palettes, again, that came in that really cool PR box. It came with a pipe and like little like storage bins. Super cool. Again, I don't have that as well. I did pass that along, but I just think it's such a cool, fun palette to play with. And when you look on the colors on the inside, these are my colors. Like, these are my colors. I had so much fun playing this palette. I did not have really any issues. The shade Wax is just so damn beautiful. It's like this deep, beautiful yellow that I crave for a fall palette. And then the shade Full Melt to go with that. Like, they line up this palette so easy for you to create such a beautiful eye look with it. Then you have the shade Shatter. Again, these can complement each other so well. Like, they lined up this palette to be beautiful. This is like a perfect fall palette. I think I might have even said that in the video that this was a perfect fall palette. I just love the way that it's laid out. You could do like a green eye look. You could do like a yellow to brown eye look. Like, they laid this out so beautifully to make it so easy to create such a create such a beautiful eye look. And this was such a fun palette to play with. Definitely the colors that I enjoy and love, and I was very, very, very happy that I had this palette because it is just so beautiful. I still look at it to this day going, damn, like Melt really did that. Melt really did that. Coming in at number 1, and this should be no surprise to anybody, but we have my favorite Melt palette of all time. I'm wearing it on my eyes today. It is the Gemini palette. Now, this is the original OG palette. I know they just relaunched the Gemini palette once more. They kind of like repackaged it. I don't know the formula is the same, so I didn't get it because I don't need 2 Gemini palettes. But I have to say, this is such a gorgeous palette. This is what introduced me to Melt Cosmetics, was this palette right here. And this is the first time I did a makeup look. Coming back to YouTube was with this palette, and I just freaking love this palette. Like, this is such a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous palette. And I think the reason I'm obsessed with it is because you can create such a grungy eyeshadow look, like what I'm wearing right now. It's very grungy, it's like edgy, and it's just so much fun to play with. I literally just stuck to these shades right here. I didn't touch this side. I just played with this side today, and I just had so much fun doing this eye look. It's definitely an eye look that I've done before for you guys, and I just think it's such a beautiful palette. Such a beautiful palette. If you love greens, if you love olive greens and like a grungy eyeshadow look, this is definitely the palette for you. The shimmers in here are so pigmented. They blend it beautifully. The mattes have such pigmentation. Again, they blend out very, very beautifully. And this was a perfect palette to introduce me to the brand. I love this palette. I love this palette so much. I believe it got ranked number 1 in like my best of makeup, I think like in 2019, I think. Again, beautiful, beautiful palette. I love it so much. I love the eye look. Whenever I want like a really grungy green eyeshadow look, this is the palette that I go to. Is this palette right here, because this palette is freaking amazing. I love it. And I know that, like I said, I know they reformulated it. I know they re-released this palette because this palette was sold out for so long because no one could, it couldn't stay in stock because it's just that beautiful, beautiful palette. And the person that introduced it to me was Robert E. Christie. She introduced this palette to me and I think it's freaking amazing. So those are all my Melt Cosmetics palettes, and just because things are at the bottom doesn't mean it's bad. It just means I prefer other palettes over it. But it's always so much fun to rank palettes like this because it just allows me to go through my collection and see what else I have and go, oh, I forgot I had this. So it's definitely a lot of fun to me. And if you guys have played with any of the Melt Cosmetics palettes, please let me know down below what your favorite palette is and what your least favorite one is. So with that said, guys, that is it for today's video, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure you guys give this video a cheeky thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you guys have not already, because I do post 4 to 5 videos a week. Make sure you guys head over to my other channel, It's Art for Life, where you guys get to see my cool, wonderful adventures, my amazing husband, Corey. And as always, a huge thank you goes to all these beautiful, wonderful Patreon members you guys see right here. Thank you guys so much for everything. And to my subscribers and viewers, thank you guys so much for being here. Whether you guys like this video, you guys thumbs down this video, you guys subscribed, you guys did not subscribe, either way, thank you guys so much for being here. I love and appreciate each and every single one of you. So with that said, guys, I love you, and I'll see you guys very next video. Bye. Hey guys, hey guys. No. Okay guys, so I just want to first and foremost say I hope everybody had a beautiful, happy moment. Alright guys, so first and foremost, I seem to really enjoy when I rank a lot of my palettes that I from the De las Des Mortes. The De las Des Mortes. This is the Mariposa. This is the Amor, but I don't know if the formula's the same, but this is I don't know if the formula's the same. Those are all my Melt Cosmetics palettes and why I like it from my So those are all my Melt Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes and why I like it. Oh god, that's actually heavy. That is surprisingly really freaking heavy.